Բարև ձեզ։ Այսօր կզրուցեմ Միքայել Կարապետյանի հետ, որը Ֆլորիդայից է եկել Հայաստան, Gyumri կամավորաբար դասավանդելու։ Hello Michael, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you came from Florida to Armenia. What was the moment or inner decision that made you think that I will spend my some months of my life in Armenia, in Gyumri especially?
Yeah, so I'm a diaspora in Armenia. I'm half Armenian, and I never really grew up with the Armenian culture in Florida. But a couple years ago, I came to Armenia for the first time. It was just for a short trip, but I fell in love with it, and I knew I had to come back again. And so I started learning Armenian back in the United States. I found a teacher, but it was. And she told me about this opportunity of Birthright Armenia to come and volunteer in Armenia. And I just really wanted to come back and spend time here and learn the language. And, it's really interesting being in Armenia. In a lot of ways, it feels like home. Like when you come to Armenia for the first time, I feel very comfortable here in a way that I haven't felt in any other country before.
And what were your impressions about Armenia when you first time have your step on the ground, let's say?
Well, my first impression was of Varnats Airport, and I don't know why every plane needs to come in at 4 a.m, but every time I come to Armenia, it's, I'm sleep deprived, but after that, it's like coming to Republic Square. Oh, it's so beautiful. And a couple of days ago, we had the concert here, and it's just seeing all the lights in Republic Square is so beautiful. I love exploring it, and going to the Cascade and seeing Mount Ararat for the first time was a very, very special moment. I've always heard about that mountain, but getting to actually see it for the first time with my own eyes was an incredible moment, and I loved being here.
Well, getting deeper into the decision that you've made about coming to Armenia, wasn't it hard to leave maybe your job, maybe you had a job in Florida, to leave it, to leave your family, your friends, the community that you had in Florida and come to the place that it will be for the first time for you and work voluntarily, like for free, teaching English and Spanish, as I know, right?
Yes.
Here.
Yeah, it definitely a big decision, right? And I did have a job there in the United States, and I loved that job. But at a certain point, I realized I wanted to travel a little bit. I wanted to learn a little bit more, and I knew this was coming to Armenia and being here was a part of me that I wanted to explore and learn a little bit more about. But yeah, it was definitely difficult saying goodbye to my friends and goodbye to my family. But I have family here in Armenia too, and I get to spend a lot of time with them. And it was just something I knew I really, really needed to do, to come back here and try to learn Armenian and understand my family that was from Armenia and understand their story. And the more I learned about their story and the experiences that they had, the more I learned about myself, honestly. And I love the fact that I get to give back as a volunteer. I get to teach English and Spanish. It's funny that I know Spanish, but I don't know Armenian yet. But I've been here working with students in Gyumri, and it's a really incredible experience to get to work with young people in Gyumri. They are incredibly intelligent and very ambitious with what they want to do in life, and I learn a lot from them, and I hope they learn something from me at least.
And who you teach? Are they students, school children, or adults?
I actually teach at the Gyumri Technology Center. They have a organization in there called the Gyumri Language House, and they're just students from around the community. Anyone can join, and I have students as young as 12 and as old as 25 who come and they want to learn another language, and so we work a couple times a week with them, and it's a good experience.
And the group, is it big?
Actually, it's right now. I hear in the summer it gets bigger, but right now it's small. I have about 4 students in my Spanish class, but I really enjoy that because I get to know them more personally, and we get to talk about their goals in life and what they want to do in the future in Spanish, and I get to help them with that, and that's really rewarding.
So, and also continuing about talking Armenia, before your arrival in Armenia, what was your imagination about the country? And is it different right now that you see?
Yeah, it is. Growing up in the diaspora, you hear a lot of different things about Armenia.
What did you hear about Armenia when you were in diaspora?
I have to be honest. There's a lot of positive things about how beautiful the country is, but there's also a lot of, I have to be honest, some negative things that aren't actually true when I got here. Especially coming from the United States, there's a lot of impressions about Armenia, but when you get here, none of them are true at all. Armenia is on the forefront of the world stage, I would say. It's very developed. I think it's so cool. Yerevan itself is such an amazing city. Anything you want from a big city is right here in Yerevan. But then also going to Gyumri, completely different culture, completely different vibe, but it is, everything you could possibly need is there. The people are incredibly kind, and Armenia really blew any expectations away that I had, and I love being here, and I want to stay longer.
And you mentioned that every trip feels like unlocking a new part of Armenia. What has been your most surprising thing that you discovered about Armenia?
Wow. In Gyumri, I try to get all the other volunteers and friends, even some local friends that I've made. We try to go explore the country as much as we can. And everywhere we go, there is something new we unlock. We've been to Marmashin, which is a village north of Gyumri, and we found cuneiform inscription in the mountainside, which was so beautiful. And recently we went to Desakh to go horseback riding, and the mountains in Desakh are incredible. I understand why Hovhannes Tumanyan wrote so many poems about it. Everywhere you go, there's so much history here. There's so much history here that's just not in the United States. We had a taxi driver one time make a joke about, you pick up a rock in Armenia and it has 3,000 years of history and 100 books written about it. I think it's true. Everywhere you go, there's a church with 1,000 years of history, or there's, especially in Gyumri, the history is just built upon itself, which I think is really unique. You look at a building and, it was 1,000 different things over the years. And I think that's so cool.
Well, and as part of Birthright Armenia, what does volunteering personally mean to you? And how has this experience shaped your responsibility toward Armenia?
Yeah, being a volunteer, it is, you're working for free, right?
That should be hard.
Yes.
For someone who left the job in Florida and came to Armenia.
Yes, it is. In that sense, it's a little challenging, but it's also, it feels good to give back. As a volunteer, it feels good to be here and actually make a difference. And, we were talking with Sevan, he's our executive director at Birthright Armenia. And, I had this question about, how do we leave the greatest impact on the kids we're working with? And he made a really good point about how it's more about just showing them what kind of options are out there and opening up their worldview a little bit. And as a volunteer coming here and doing that, sharing my own experiences in my own life, it is rewarding. But then also I get way more back than I think I could ever possibly give in terms of learning about, learning from my students or learning just from exploring the mountains of Armenia. I get a lot back, yeah. And
for how many months you've been here?
I've been here for 2.5 months now, but I extended. I'm going to be here for an extra month and a half.
Again in Gyumri?
Again in Gyumri. I love Gyumri. I love Gyumri.
And I guess you already have friends there, right?
Yes. The other volunteers there, there's only maybe
Are there some people that again came with you from Florida or from the United States, different parts?
Yeah, there's a lot of Americans volunteering as well, and in Gyumri there's about 15 of us. But it's cool to hang out with the other volunteers. There's a lot of volunteers from France, and they're really fun to hang out with. But we are all really close with each other in Gyumri, which is I think a unique part of the experience in Gyumri because there's not as many volunteers there. But we become really close friends. We hang out with each other all the time. Every Tuesday night we go sing karaoke, which is a lot of fun. But then in Gyumri itself, they always talk about how important it is to immerse yourself. And I have my host family or host mother I stay with, but also a lot of local friends that I met through volunteering or just hanging out. You meet a lot of people, and I invite them to come hang out with us. And sometimes I go hang out with them. We go hiking. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
But how do you build the connection, the communication with those who are in Gyumri, the locals?
Yeah.
Because you're coming from different cultures. Like you're from Florida. You were born there, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was born in Illinois, but yeah, same thing.
Anyway, you're like having a different culture,
Yeah.
which differs a lot from people in Gyumri. How do you build the connection with them?
Yeah, the first part is definitely the language, and I'm really trying to learn Armenian. It's difficult to say the least, but starting with the language and trying to communicate that way, and a lot more people they speak. Not as many people speak English in Gyumri, which is a good thing for me because I'm really forced to speak Armenian. But after that, it's understanding. That coming from the United States, I'm not going to understand everything about being born and raised in Gyumri or born and raised in Armenia, even if I am half Armenian. But there's a lot that we can relate on, and there's also a lot that you just have to sit and listen and understand. And there's definitely a lot of some cultural differences that are very different from the United States. But for me, it's learning, and asking questions and why things are certain ways and understanding that not one way is better than the other, but just understanding that we live differently sometimes.
Well, speaking also about the roots, your Armenian roots, where your family members come from?
Yeah, I have, so my dad's 100% Armenian, and his father is from Lori region. And his mother, her family is from Adana in Western Armenia. And that was actually this last week with the Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day. I got the opportunity to learn a lot more about my own family and where they came from and that side of the history. But in a few weeks, I'm going to go to Lorut. It's a village in Lori, and that's where my grandfather was born, and get to visit that.
So you haven't been there yet, and you
not yet.
Trip.
Yeah, my cousins told me I need to wait till until summertime, because Lori is apparently very beautiful in the summer.
Yeah, especially nature is very beautiful in Lori. So you could say that being in Armenia, it's also the way of making some explorations about your roots and the history that had your family, right?
Yeah. We have on the Birthright Armenia shirts on the back. We make fun of it sometimes. The saying, but it says, a journey of self-discovery. Us volunteers, we kind of make jokes about it sometimes, but honestly, it is that in a lot of ways. And I think one of the coolest opportunities about volunteering here is understanding my roots and getting to learn, these things about my own family. My grandfather growing up, he spoke English, but he actually spoke 6 languages, but he, mostly they spoke Armenian in the household, and I didn't understand it. But here I feel very close to him, especially in learning about his history and what he went through and why he ended up coming to the United States. And there's a lot that I get to learn from, walking in the same places that he walked through.
And what was your family's response to the decision that you will come to Armenia? What was their impression, and was there any influence by them on you about this decision?
Yeah, it's really funny because I applied for Birthright Armenia and I didn't tell my parents until I got accepted. And then I called them up and said, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, I'm going to go to Armenia for a couple of months. And, they were a little apprehensive, but I think they knew that they wouldn't be able to stop me at all. They said, so you're going to quit your job and go to Armenia,
Did they say it's too far? How will you get there?
Yeah, they, definitely the logistics was part of it too, and traveling this far. And they were worried, but I think they knew that they weren't going to stop me no matter what, because I really, really wanted to come back and explore more here.
And what would you say other Armenians who live in diaspora, especially younger generation, who are hesitating maybe to come and to have an experience in Armenia? What would you say to them?
Yeah, it's 100% worth it. You know, as a diasporan Armenian, growing up, there's always this call. You just feel it to come back to Armenia, and you may not understand it growing up in the diaspora. You may not understand why, like, what you're missing, you know. But when you come to Armenia, it all clicks, and you really understand that there's something so special about this place, and about our roots, where we come from. So if anyone's, you know, hesitating, or they're like, or they're thinking maybe they have to keep a job or something like that, I say find the time. You absolutely have to come here and have this experience, one way or another, and it's so rewarding in every single way.
And do you also think about seeking a job here as well while you are volunteering here, or?
Yeah, I've thought about it. You know, with Birthright Armenia, they have the repatriation office, which helps us volunteers if we wanted to seek citizenship or to stay in Armenia. There's several opportunities. So I've been speaking with them, and you know, I think it would be awesome to stay here and you know, give back to Armenia a little bit more, and because it's given me plenty. Yeah, I would honestly love that experience. I definitely need to get better at Armenian first, but yes, I would love to do that.
So you will come again here, right?
Absolutely.
After finishing your mission here.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for the interview.
Of course, thank you so much for having me.
Ես զրուցում եմ Միքայել Կարապետյանի հետ, որը Ֆլորիդայից եկել է Հայաստան, այստեղ կամավորաբար աշխատելու։ Հաջողություն։